Hello everyone and welcome. It's Shanna. Now today I've got the Coffee and Books Volume 2 from Not Too Shabby 6x6 pattern paper, and they're double-sided, and I've got the Coffee and Books Volume 2 ephemera, and there are lots of pieces in there. Now we're just going to make two cards, and we're just going to use two little pieces of ephemera, and I will tell you, I'm going to share with you as I'm putting this together. These are very simple cards. I wanted to just work with a set again. And I didn't have any coffee sentiments to use. And so I went out on Pinterest and started just kind of perusing. I was going to just make my own sentiments. And so I was just kind of perusing and Pinterest and trying to find some sentiments. And I came across these two cards with these particular sentiments on them. And I think they actually were Gina K design, because I could see part of the logo in the picture that was on there. And it had been, basically somebody had, it looked like it was associated with Amazon, like somebody had snapped the picture and was associating some part of the card with Amazon. Not sure what it was, but there were a couple of cards, or actually three, I think, that I could tell looked like this designer had made that were with that. And it looked like it said Sherry Gilson for Gina K Designs or something similar to that. So I'm going to give her credit for these designs. I thought they were really pretty, and mine are a little bit different. I just took basically the inspiration from that. I think one of hers was layered with rectangles, and she had a little bit more layering with cardstock, and I brought in some of the pattern paper, but very, very similar to the cards that she had created. And like I said, it wasn't like on a post of hers. I couldn't even identify really what it was on there for, but I kept seeing like Amazon with it, so I don't know. Anyway, but I think it was Sherry Gilson. So I should have laid this ribbon underneath this bottom panel, but I was a little gung-ho, and so I'm going to have to improvise on this. So I'm going to grab my tape runner, and I left this in real time, so we've got a 13.5-minute video in which I've made two cards. Now, however, I did go ahead and cut all my layers and everything before I started the video, so there was a little bit of time with that. But you can make some cards fairly quickly and fairly simply with just some pattern paper and some ephemera. I used some nested circle dies, and I used my Cricut to make the sentiment. I basically just typed up the sentiment, and I kind of played with font until I found something that I thought looked decent, and then I printed it out just on some cardstock with my Cricut, and then I just took some nested dies, circle dies, and die cut them out. So if you don't have a sentiment and you do have a Cricut, you can certainly make your own. And if you don't have a Cricut but you have a computer, you can bring up a document and create some sentiments that way as well. So there are lots of options. You could also handwrite them if you wanted to, if you have nice handwriting, or if you know calligraphy or something, you could certainly do that. So I'm just layering these panels up, very similarly to how the Pinterest inspiration was. And I'm going to get them laid down on here. Now, like I said, I would have liked to have this ribbon underneath that bottom panel, but I'm going to make it work. I'm just going to fold it over. I'll bring in some tape runner, tape it down. This is where I'm like, how am I going to do this? So I'm like, I'll tape it down so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to lay my nested circles over it, and so that'll glue it down so it doesn't get pulled away from it. And we're just going to put a simple bow in here. This ribbon is something, I've mentioned it before in my videos. My son-in-law was at some kind of a little, I don't know, junk show or auction or something. And they had a little bag full of crafty goodies that he thought looked like something that were up my alley. So he picked them up and brought them home to me. So I have several rolls of this kind of gold shimmery ribbon, and I've used it off and on, and it looks nice with this coffee themed card. So the background panel's got little hearts, and then we've got the polka dots. It's almost like a heart-shaped coffee cup in which they've done a little decorative design in it. And then this first layer that I'm laying down puts me in the mind of when you've got coffee on the bottom of your cup and it leaves a ring on your table. Kind of reminds me of that. We're going to get it laid down on here, and then we're going to layer up these other two. I'm going to actually pop them up and just add a little bit of dimension. These are, like I said, these are going to be very simple cards, but I wanted to showcase the pattern paper and the ephemera for the Not Too Shabby shop. And I will link everything in the description box below so that you can check it out if you'd like to pick up the paper, if you're a coffee enthusiast. So life happens and coffee helps, and that's for sure. I've been trying to kind of limit myself to just a couple cups of coffee each morning. I have been drinking a lot of coffee both morning and evening, and I'm trying to get in some more water, so I'm kind of limiting my coffee a little bit. I drink coffee and tea and water, and the coffee and the tea both have caffeine in it, so I'm trying to get a little bit more water because caffeine does dehydrate you. So I'm going to get my sentiment laid down on here, and I think I'm finished with the card until I get ready to bring in the next one, and then I realize that I haven't added my coffee cup to it. So I'm going to fuss with this bow, and I'll get it situated somewhat. And I'm going to show you the card thinking I'm done. And then I'm going to grab the second card, and then I'll see the ephemera sitting there. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to put this on my card. So we'll get it laid down on there. I'm just going to bring in some foam tape and just pop it up and stick it down on our card. I'll put the foam tape on the bottom, and then we'll kind of snuggle it up on that circular panel there, since we've got some layers. And then that will finish off that card. I think it's cute. Now we'll go on to our next. Now for this one, we're going to use the small print coffee beans, and I'm bringing in some Spellbinders cardstock here. I looked it up, and now I cannot remember what the color is. I really like it. It is not the cinnamon. It is, I thought I saw it. I think it's the terracotta is what this is. Yes, I think it's the terracotta paper, yes. And it actually, the color matches the back of this paper very nicely. So I guess I chose well for my layering. I didn't even see that until I flipped it over to put the glue on it. And so we're just going to get some glue laid out on here. I'm trying to get a decent amount so that I'll have some movability with it. Sometimes these fine tips, when you try to lay your card panel down and you try to move it, you don't really have enough glue on there to move it around. So I was trying to squeeze out some extra. So I like this little tiny coffee bean pattern. There is a larger coffee bean pattern as well that you can use. And then I'm using this decorative. It just looks scrumptious. It looks like some, I don't know, mocha coffee and some cookies and coffee beans. It just looks simply delicious. I think I need a snack. And for this one, it says less Monday and more coffee is the sentiment that I created on my Cricut for it. And I'll tell you, when I worked, oh my gosh, yes, less Monday, more coffee for sure. So here we've got the sentiment, and we've got our layers. I just mimicked the layers that I did on the other ones. And this time I'm going to bring in a coffee cup that is more like a mocha latte type one instead of a to-go cup. And we'll just get it laid down on here as well. And I didn't put that ribbon underneath that first panel either. But I had planned to bring some twine in, so we'll just create just a cute little bow and stick it on there. So we're going to get our layer down there. We'll get it glued down. And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to layer the cinnamon down, and then we'll pop up those two. Just give it a little bit of dimension. I've got my window open, and there are some, I guess, geese flying by honking. And I thought you'd probably hear it on the video, so I think I probably was able to cut that out. So I'm just going to bring in 3 pieces of this foam tape and just really get this popped up nice. And when we get it laid down. Now we still have hummingbirds in our area. I know the birds are will begin making their move. I'm not certain when they do. But my husband was thinking thought that he heard that the hummingbirds would be beginning to make their move, but they are still all over my hummingbird feeder. And it's wonderful because we have a little kind of a bar top table in our kitchen, and we'll sit there sometimes and we can watch the hummingbirds out the window, and they're just having a great time at that feeder. Additionally, I have a plant that they love. They're honeysuckle. Of course, it's out of bloom right now, but I have some other ones that are blooming that have a little later bloom. And they really like our area because we've got the honeysuckle and some other flowers that they like. And then with the feeder out there, they've just been really hanging around. So it's been fun to watch them. We have a couple of ponds that are near where we live, and I think that's why we're hearing, I don't know if it's the ducks or the geese or whatever it is. It sounds like a geese because it's a honker, but anyway, so I'm just tying a bow around my fingers. Basically, I just go over, under, loop it through and tie it off and just create a multi-layer twine bow here. And I'm going to get it laid down on the card base, and we'll have some texture with that and kind of give it a little bit more of a rustic look with a twine. And I double knotted this, and then later I'll take the double knot out because I don't like it the way it looks. And I'm going to trim it down. The tails are too long on it. So we'll get that trimmed down, and we'll get it laid down on there. So I'm going to grab for my, I use these dots, usually for twine and stuff like that. They're called Journey dots. And it's a permanent adhesive. It's from Fun Stamper Journeys. And I pulled them out, and I realized that the 3 that I had left were stuck to the inside of the box. And so I grabbed just a foam square there and laid it down on that. And I think that'll hold it all right. So we'll get this stuff put away, and we'll take a look at these 2 cards. They came together really quickly, and I think they turned out nice. And I appreciate the inspiration from Pinterest and tried to give credit where credit's due. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.